I really
Yeah.
want to talk about tariffs and Coach. And this is me kind of, we'll say, like putting kind of a stake in the ground and saying, I don't think the tariffs are going to affect Coach that much. So here's
So
how
Coach handbags and
Coach
the yeah,
handbags,
the
yes.
brand, the fashion brand.
The fashion brand, Coach, known for Coach, Coach Outlet, and more recently, Coachtopia. Okay, so we'll start here. Now, it's going to start out kind of dry, but it's important for the context. So, for years, brands could avoid these certain kinds of import taxes on smaller shipments or shipments that are worth less than $800, thanks to a trade rule called de minimis. So, that loophole is now closed thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill. And that, along with new tariffs, means that Coach, well, any brand really, right? But Coach or Tapestry, which is the parent company of Coach and Kate Spade, which, surprise, surprise, are sister brands. All right. So
Hold
obviously,
on. Let me
Tapestry is not the only company that's facing this, right? It's any company that's importing goods from pretty much anywhere
anywhere?
else, right? So, but just to give this one example of Coach, they're going to be faced with extra costs. And now they have to decide, are they going to raise prices, cut costs, or eat the costs? Now, the short of it is, it looks like they're going to do some mix of raising prices and cutting costs. So, Coach CEO Todd Kahn says that prices of Coach will go up, but probably not hugely so. Like, it's probably only going to be like $10 to $15 per bag. But however,
I mean, that's
these
still substantial, right? Like, does it say like for
maybe.
the amount of like bag, like starting at like which prices?
No, I don't think they've said yet.
Oh, okay.
So who knows? Like, what if it's not going to apply to all bags? Like,
Hmm.
I would imagine they would try to be strategic
Mm-hmm.
and maybe raise prices on the products that sell the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like raise prices most there.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I don't know, right? It could be something
Yeah.
like that. And then the other thing to note is these tariffs are disproportionately affecting Kate Spade more because
Hmm.
they have more international stores. So what they're going to do is they're going to cut the number of Kate Spade bags by about 30% across all regions, which also makes sense because Kate Spade isn't quite as popular as it used to be. So Coach has grown massively in popularity over the recent years, and Kate Spade has declined a little bit, but still pretty popular. And
Hmm.
so shares of parent company Tapestry fell 14% upon this news. But it's worth noting that throughout the year, Tapestry shares have risen about 74%. Now, this is largely due to the appeal of Coach and Coach bags and the appeal that they've won with younger consumers. So now I want to talk about how Coach won.
Yeah.
Do you have a Coach bag or do you have an opinion?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been following Coach since yeah, I was younger. Kate Spade as well, but yeah, that one's kind of fallen more out of that one. Recent, let's see. I don't buy. I mean, that's one of the wonders of handbags, right? Is they last so much longer. But I do remember there's that one like viral TikToker who talks about the different brands and like which handbags are worth paying for, and Coach has consistently come up as like one of the best brands like for the value. Like it's that one where he like cuts open the handbag to show
Oh,
you what
yeah.
the leather actually looks like, and Coach has consistently been like not just more affordable but like actually worth the amount that you're paying for it. So when I saw that, I'm like, great, I can just buy another Coach like handbag and like keep that. So and that must be another reason why they're still doing so well, is because
Yeah.
they're known as being a good product.
Yeah, they totally are. Like, I feel like anytime I see the brand, like, mentions of Coach going viral or people talking about them, there are always people rushing into the comments to say, like, they have such great quality leather.
Mhm.
Like, I had my Coach bag for years, and it's still in really great condition, which is awesome to see. I mean,
Yeah.
I will say my first designer bag was a Coach bag.
Mm.
It was some kind of small shoulder bag. It was
Mhm.
lime green and it had red ladybugs. It was part of some spring collection. And I love
Mm.
it. I still have
Yeah.
it. And it was a graduation gift.
Nice.
So it's special. What was your first designer bag?
Um It was a Dooney and Burke. Remember when those were
I
a
do.
thing back in
Yeah.
back in high school? Yeah, I had
Yeah.
one of those with, like, the hearts on it,
Oh, I
the Lindsay
remember those.
Lohan ones. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
cute.
And then from that, I felt like I graduated more to, Kate Spade and, like, Coach, Marc Jacobs, um but then I have consistently I would say Coach has been, like, more of the consistent, like, purchase that I make. I'll go back and, have the different colors. I feel like, with handbags, like, you have to have, like, a black one and, like, a brown one, and then, like, one fun, like, red one or something.
Yeah.
So those I have all of those in, like, Coach.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a timelessness to Coach.
Yes.
I mean,
Mhm.
like, yeah, they have some trendier styles,
Right.
but like as a brand, like as a whole, I feel like because they're pretty well known as having good quality leather, that kind of makes it puts them in that timeless kind of bucket.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's like the thing, right? It's like once you start, I feel like for me, it's like I reach a certain age and I'm like, okay, I want that timeless piece that's just gonna go with everything else. And then I'll buy some of the funner, like, different colors or like something that's more, like glittery or something. But that's like I rarely use that, right? I mean, it used to be a thing when I used to go out, which I don't do anymore as much.
So let's talk about how Coach won. All right. So first, through what we will call a positive flywheel and a lot of data. So 5 years ago, it's 2020. Todd Kahn was promoted to CEO of Coach, and around that, sales of the Tabby bag started to decline. But meanwhile, the consumer insights team had a lot of data and a lot of insights.
Mhm.
A lot of this through research, like shop alongs, where they shop with consumers and talk to them while they're shopping,
Mhm.
and they learned that overall Gen Z's sentiment towards Coach, like, as a brand was pretty lukewarm. Like, I think they just thought of it as sort of like their mom's brand or for older
For
women.
millennials.
Yeah, right?
And we know that anything that's millennials, they think is uncool.
Yeah. But they also learned that Gen Z really liked the Tabby bag. Coach uncovered a really unique customer segment, which they call the timeless Gen Z. They have a bigger lifetime value. And it's because they're willing to invest a little more into pieces that they think are going to be timeless or classic. So you think about it, right? Like Gen Z right now, they are what? Like some of them are maybe getting their first promotions. Maybe some of the younger ones are going into their first adult job right out of college. So this is a segment that, probably has some money to spend. And, Coach is expensive, but it's not Louis Vuitton or
Mhm.
Gucci expensive, right? Like it's not thousands of dollars expensive, it's several $100s, right? So this is an audience segment that is willing to buy, right? They're willing to invest a little more, and then because they're younger, they're going to they can theoretically have a much bigger lifetime value because they have the opportunity to grow with Coach. So going back to the tabby, right? Traditionally, what Coach would have done with declined sales is they would have slowly removed the bag from the full price stores. They would have marked it down, put it in outlets, and then maybe like a year later, they would introduce a bag with very similar attributes. And maybe they would call it the Gabby, and that cycle would begin again. But instead, they did something different. And this time, what they did was they kept the tabby, but they introduced new versions of it. So they introduced the pillow tabby the following year, which is the quilted leather. And that quickly went
Mm.
viral on TikTok and then topped the Google Hot 100 list. So what they did was they effectively re-energized the tabby, got those sales from Gen Z, but now because they didn't wind down the whole style, now they have a modern day iconic bag.
I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy to think about. I mean, just obviously we've seen the change of how fast fashion has kind of made larger fashion brands and ones that have been around longer have to react to that in real time. So the fact that it was like part of what they would have done is to get rid of the bag and then just
Yeah.
like slowly just like, take it away and then try to reintroduce something later. That's kind of wild that it would that was just like the way that they would do things.
Yeah, totally. And like that was kind of how you could distinguish like outlet stuff. I mean, now they have different logos, or
Mhm.
maybe they've had different logos for a while now, but basically it was like the outlet would get the older styles and that's how it was. But now
Right.
in the recent years especially, they've done a really good job of differentiating the brands while also respecting all the brands.
Mhm.
So, the next thing I'll say is, so this positive flywheel, right? They didn't retire the Tabby. They just introduced new versions of it, and now it's a beloved bag. So what they did was, I think they basically took the similar approach of this positive flywheel and launched in 2023. They launched Coachtopia. So Coachtopia is their sustainable brand where they use leftover Coach materials. It's all upcycled in some way, and it's because of the whole issue with, well, we don't want our stuff to end up in landfills, right?
Mhm.
Fast fashion is a problem.
Yeah.
And Coachtopia, I mean, they have different price points, but in general, it costs even less than Coach Outlet. And what's interesting here too is, so for the longest time, Tapestry didn't want, like, treated Kate Spade and Coach very differently, right? Like they treated those customer bases differently. They didn't even really want there to be any overlap, right? They wanted these to be distinct segments, which makes sense. But through Coach's research, they realized that, oh, I don't think we have as much overlap as we thought. So they estimated that the overlap between the Coach audience and the Kate Spade audience is probably only like 10%.
Hmm.
And so with that, they launched Coachtopia, which aesthetically kind of competes more with Kate Spade. Like, they have a lot of whimsical styles, funky colors, mixed materials, and it's all stuff that, if you were to compare Kate Spade to any of the
Hmm.
brands, any of the Coach brands, it kind of looks most like Coachtopia. So they've been able to create a new sub brand, which people love, and it has its own meaning for why it exists. And yeah, that's kind of the story of Coach, right? They've figured out the ideal customer segment for them, how to appeal to them, how to keep talking to them, how to keep re engaging them. And then plus, they get that halo effect, right? Because it is always that appealing to younger people is that's the trendy thing to do.
Mhm.
Everybody wants to do what the cool young people are doing. So
Mhm.
obviously that's going to lead to more growth.
How is it doing with other uh segments? So that was like with the
Yeah.
young people coming in and like,
Yeah.
buying the Tabby and, Coachtopia. But yeah, how's it doing compared to, I mean, for millennials and stuff?
Yeah. So we'll see. So I mean, millennials are really into Coach too. I'm going to look for sales cuz I'm curious now, like, if they have a breakout of how of what the sales are. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the breakdown. Over 6.8 million during the year, driven by a growing number of Gen Z and millennial consumers. This represents about 60% of new customers for the quarter and year.
Hmm.
S
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so I love that. I mean, we've talked about this before, right? Like with Dyson, really finding a consumer segment that wasn't a thing, right? And it's just like, oh, shit, sorry. Sorry, we took our car in to be serviced and I haven't gotten message yet. I love the story. I like the whole, I mean, we've talked about this before, right? We're like brands that are able to figure out a new customer segment. Like we talked about Dyson in one of our earliest episodes, that they went from like creating technology and innovation for the vacuum, realized that that would work for like hair products, became, a dominant influence in like hair care, and then are using that back now with like the newest vacuum that they're coming out here with Coach. I mean, you might say that it's not, innovative because it's just they're still creating handbags, but I think within fashion and like fast fashion in particular, the sustainability and like reusing products is such a huge unlock for how to fix having way too much stuff, right? I mean, we hear every year about like how much clothes ends up in landfills. So if this is like a way for them to create, a new bag that people are buying because they want to be sustainable and they care about climate change and all that, then that's like an amazing way to kind of create a vertical from what they're already building. And then as for like the whole approaching Gen Z and, going after them, I like that they figured out a customer segment. Like, this is why it's so important to talk to like your consumers and figure out like what's actually happening, doing that social listening. Because if they had reacted the way that they had previously done with like other handbags, they would have gotten rid of the tabby and then had to create a completely new brand, like awareness like the Gabby. You're just calling it that, or that's what it would have been called.
That was an example that they gave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like
Okay.
a coach example, but
Got it,
yeah.
got it, got it. Yeah. So they would have had to create a whole marketing flywheel for that from the beginning, as opposed to kind of relying on what was already existing there. So they were super smart to realize that they're like the Gen Z user would want that bag, like, for like to celebrate getting a new job, or to celebrate, having it be like a celebration for a milestone. But then still trying to create a way that would appeal just for them, which is creating new colors, creating new textures, like a new bag that's like specifically for them, so that it wouldn't be like, oh, this is a millennial thing that we're kind of just updating for you, like, take it or leave it, but it's still meant for like millennials. I think, consumers want to know that you're taking the time to understand them and like make things for them, and not just kind of, trying to rebrand something that you're using for other people to sell to them.
Yeah, totally. And actually, on that note, I have some notes here. I think this is kind of the last info I have on
Hmm.
Coach, and then we can move on. Is to that point, there are two other bags that Coach makes that have bucked expectations in some way.
Hmm.
So the first one is the Coach's swing zip bag. It's one of their archival styles, and one of the team members of Coach was doubtful of that commercial potential,
Hmm.
right? But then in user testing, they actually found that Gen Z love that bag. So they've kind of revived that too. But, like on the art side of it, right? Like the human element, like they didn't think that people would want that bag, but through user testing, they realized they did, which is pretty interesting.
Hmm.
And we'll have an image of that
Yeah,
on the
I'm searching
video.
all these right now
Yeah.
because I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to see them.
I mean, and it looks like it's a pretty basic looking bag.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it just is, but it's practical, it has zipper all
Yeah.
around,
Right.
it's a shoulder bag, it's
Hmm.
practical.
Hmm.
But the other side of that is the company's now their most recent bestseller is a shoulder bag called the Brooklyn. Now, data would have shown that it would not have sold well. It has very little branding, the strap
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
adjustable. Like, the
Hmm.
strap on the tabby bag is adjustable, it can be
Hmm.
a crossbody or it can be a shoulder bag. The Brooklyn shoulder bag is just a shoulder bag, can't adjust it, and on the inside, like, it's not very functional. I think there might be, like, one pocket, but it's a slouchy it's a beautiful bag, but it's kind of a slouchy
Hmm.
style,
It's very
and
unique too, though.
yeah, so but what they were surprised by was had they used data to just inform this insight, they probably wouldn't have launched that bag because it wouldn't have the data would have shown otherwise. And it's the kind of thing where because they went for like the art of it, because the bag itself has a really beautiful silhouette
Hmm.
and people really love it. So it's an instance where the art of fashion and not really data wins.
I think, yeah, that's one thing. And I wonder if like the CEO who like, came up within the company and is kind of like remembers that it's more about like the aesthetic and like, especially within fashion, reaching this moment of being unique enough, but then also being, pretty or like attractive or, different. It's like the way to go. I mean, we talk about that in terms of the way that you're kind of putting yourself up against your competitors, right? Like, what's your unique insight, your unique angle for why your consumer would want your product over other ones? And I think when it comes to like fashion in particular, or like things that are like aesthetically pleasing, right? I mean, you might even bring into this like Le Creuset, the fact that it's such an aesthetic brand and like that's kind of like what they're selling. It makes sense that kind of taking these things of like we're social listening, and if we're finding the right type of consumer that likes that particular bag, it makes sense for them to like chase that, instead of just like throwing it all away.
Yeah. Well, coach, if you're listening, feel free to send me a tabby bag. I'll take
Yeah.
the size in 26.
Too funny.